Hi, Armand here with your forecast for August of 2019. Before we say anything else, let me say that it's a great idea if you're interested in astrology and you're basically looking for some great astrological fun and community and excitement to check out geocosmic.org and check out the NCGR conference in Baltimore, which is happening at the end of this month over Labor Day weekend. I'm president of NCGR, so I'm a little more invested in it than you might otherwise think. But I think it's going to be a great conference, and if you could make it there, it'd be great. We have day passes and things like that. Not a commercial. I'm just saying that's a thing that you might want to do. And actually, to tell you the truth, as we look at August, probably want to do a lot of good stuff this month. We have some nice energy coming up in August. It's not nearly as rocky as July, where we had two eclipses and we had some very, very sharp aspects. It's not a quiet month. August isn't a quiet month, but it's a more outgoing, progressive kind of month. It's a month where you can kind of, move a little bit easier. First of all, the month starts with Mercury going direct after 3 weeks of retrograding. And what a retrograde it was. I'm lucky if I can get this video up, given all the hassles I've had with computers and MailChimp and oh boy, YouTube and everything. It's just been a hassle at every single turn. So with Mercury direct, we can reasonably hope that things will go a little bit smoother. Now, if you're going to sign a contract or if you're going to buy a car or a computer, if you're going to do something like that, then you probably want to wait until, I would say sometime around the 5th, 6th, 7th at the earliest. Let Mercury get moving a little bit. I would say the 11th, but I got my doubts. After the 11th would be a great time, especially if you're doing technology and things like that. It would be a good idea to wait until after the 11th if you can. So we start the month, Mercury goes direct. If you're in Europe, it's early on the 1st. If you're in America, it's late on the 31st of July. And we get a little bit of a break as the month goes on. Remember, though, that mercurial mishaps multiply right around the station, so the first few days of August are likely to have a lot of those snafus and things like that. So leave extra time and try to maintain a degree of patience for all of these little reminders that we're supposed to process information rather than whatever. Just try to have a little bit of patience for it. We're also coming out of the Leo new moon. Now, the Leo new moon, again, late on the 31st or early on the 1st, depending upon where you are, is a time when you get to look at your inner path with heart. What really energizes you, vitalizes you? What makes you feel good? What brings you joy? And let's get some more of that in our lives. I think July was a time when we struggled with the things that we want to get away from. August is a time when we move towards things we want to go to. And, depending upon how we've done it, clearing out the other stuff, we should have an easier or a little bit more challenging time of it. But really, no. With this Leo new moon that begins the month, it is actually an energy that says, you know what? You can just follow the heart. You can just go where you have that good energy. So that's kind of the message for the month. And if you sort of turn off the video here, then you would be, you've got the better part of the advice. For those of you that didn't turn off the video right there, I got to tell you that the first week of the month has a lot of activity for Venus. And although the moon is still very new, the energy that we get on Thursday and Friday, August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, as Venus trines Chiron and squares Uranus, it's a real firecracker type of aspect for relationship. And we'll have some more relationship excitement later in the month, especially towards the end of the month. But this is a period of time when you might want to do things that are new and different, break out of old patterns. Just try something new. Maybe try somebody new. It's not a time when the status quo is going to feel good, and it's very possible in this first weekend of August that you're going to want to have some alone time. It's not necessarily all about, everything we do together. If you're on the same page, you want to go out and try something new, that's great. If you need a little bit of space, take a little bit of space. The weekend has the just waxing moon in Virgo. You know, it could be fun. It could be nice. As we get going into the real first full week in August, we have some pretty strong energies as Venus trines Jupiter just before a couple of days before Jupiter's station to go direct. And we also have the Sun trine Jupiter on August 7th. Really good, positive, pushing forward kind of energy. Just, I mean, you know, but again, if you need a little boost to that whole following your path with heart, this should really do it. So this is the really good period of time. And the energy builds strongly from the 11th through the full moon on the 15th. On the 11th, Jupiter stations to go direct, as does, well, actually, Uranus stations to retrograde. So we have Jupiter, planet of expansion, optimism, and hope, really strong. And that you should really, if you look out in the evening sky and you can find Jupiter is really blazing out there. It's very bright around the stations. And at the same time, we have Uranus, planet of innovation and change, been very active lately also, is stopping to retrograde. Also very powerful. This is a time, look at the news for technology around this time. That's going to be probably a major area where you'll see some innovations. Look at the big technology companies, especially the ones that are really innovative, like Tesla. And well, they got some issues lately, but take a look at that. Also, very big time for progressive political causes. Just keep an eye on that. But for most of us, patience may be a little bit low. Optimism and enthusiasm might be high, should be high. You would imagine it's the kind of thing of like, I've got to doing my business, I'm doing what I want to do, I'm being me, I'm doing my thing. And it's not like you're really irritable with others, but you also don't want anybody getting in your way. So look at that time. I would say the 7th through, I would say at least the 16th. That sort of second week in August has that kind of energy about it. Really great if you've got something to do. Really great if you know what you want to happen. Free floating energy is always a problem when there's this kind of high energy period of time. You know you sort of got to do something. So if it's not something that you really thought out, you might just sort of get a little bit arbitrary about things. But you wouldn't do that. I mean, other people might do that. At the full moon on the 15th, the full moon in Aquarius, again, it sort of takes this Uranian energy that's been rattling around since late July and brings it to a kind of a peak because the full moon is in Aquarius. It's just a few days after Uranus is stationed to retrograde. And a day later on the 16th, we have Mercury square to Uranus. Now, Mercury-Uranus aspects are always great for insights, always great for having, you know, just that flash of, oh yeah, I know what to do. With Mercury in Leo, I mean, you would expect a very intuitive, I just know this is the right thing to do, I just know it's the right thing to say, and out it comes. Whether you're right about it being the right thing, well, that's an open question, but it's liable to feel that way. Very intuitive, very impulsive. People are going to be very quick with their words. You know what the thing is, of course, it's the Leo. It's the Leo thing. If you're speaking from the heart, it might be a bit of a surprise to folks, but it'll probably be a pretty good message. All right, so we've got that energy. I want to say also, too, that with that full moon in Aquarius, with Mercury squaring Mars, and with the general Uranian theme that has been in the air lately, sometimes people have trouble sleeping. You know, Uranus aspects, I think especially around the full moon and Mercury-Uranus aspect, sometimes people have trouble sleeping. It's that kind of restless mind is racing, and you really sort of can't turn it off. You might have something similar earlier in the month when Venus squares Uranus on the 2nd, and that's that kind of it takes the same energy and runs it into the area of relationship. But I think really right around the full moon, sleep could be a bit of an issue. Sleep is often a bit of an issue. I think we lose 20 minutes on average right around the full moon. So, you know, probably a little bit of trouble for some folks. And of course, lack of sleep doesn't necessarily help. Venus does have some pretty interesting aspects as we go along in the month, but I want to point out that she goes into Virgo on the 21st, and Mars goes in on the 16th. And so we get this kind of shift from Leo to Virgo ahead of the Sun or Mercury's move in there. With Mars and Venus in Virgo, there's a little bit more reserve in the social scene. There's a little bit more, I hate to say it, but we're getting around August 21st. It's a little bit more of that back to school kind of vibe. And certainly after the Sun goes into Virgo on the 23rd, that becomes a bit of an emphasis. But yet there's still activity. There's still things that are interesting. Venus meets Mars on the 24th, and then Mars and Venus go on to trine, make a nice easy aspect to Uranus a couple of days on the next couple of days. So we have that period of time right around, let's say, the 24th through the 26th, 27th, where it should be a good, manageable time for relationships, for creativity. It should be pretty helpful for finances as well. It's not an explosive, wild time, but it is it is a time when there should be a lot of activity. It's controlled activity. It's not things that are flying out and you can't work with them. The Sun goes on to trine Uranus just before the new moon on the 30th. The Sun-Uranus aspect would be very hot on the 28th and 29th. The new moon is on the 30th. What do we think about this? Well, it's very good for, it's really, to tell you the truth, it is that back to school energy. It's that kind of, oh gosh, I hate to say it. It is that end of summer kind of energy. It is that sort of, what is left to be done in the year. That's always a big consideration at the Virgo new moon. What still has to be done this year? What is left undone? We've had some time in the summer, hopefully, to relax and take a bit of a break from things, or we were just too freaked out about things. It depends what your experience is. But the sense of it is that, okay, now we have to sort of get back and get serious with things. I'm saying that the end of the month, the last week of the month, very productive energy. If you have something to do, very productive energy. It's good to wrap things up, but it's also good to plan and think about what comes next. Probably a good time after the summer of fun and other stuff. It's probably a bit of a time to, cut back on things a little bit. Maybe watch your diet, perhaps get an exercise plan going. Virgo suggests a bit of detox. It is that sort of serious kind of energy that comes in at the end of the month, and yet you can use it when you have something to do. You can use it so productively. So the beginning part of the month, we're getting in line with our heart. We're determining what is this thing that really energizes me. Where's my vitality? What is the path with heart? And after the full moon on the 15th, we're really focusing on how do we make this real? How do we bring it into manifestation? That's the question as we go further on in the month. It's not actually a very bad energy, is it? Well, I'll see you in September. That should be a song. Bye-bye.